thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is our June 12th special to mark Democracy Day. And we are in the residence of our foremost veteran journalist, of course, who is also part of the June 12th struggles. He is no other person but Mr. Bayo Onanuga. He is a special advisor on information and strategy to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So without further ado, Mr. Bayo, thank you so much for allowing us into your home today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, so it's June 12th is a special celebration. I recall when President Muhammadu Buhari declared June 12th, as the new Democracy Date away from May 29th, which a lot of democracy fighters had, always instigated that this should be, and now it is. Can you talk to us as someone who covered the 1999 presidential elections, which was, according to reports, one of the freest elections since the history of our democracy? Can you just talk to us on the significance of Democracy Day?
Well, I think you are referring to 1993 election.
Yes, sir.
1999. Well, I was an editor then, and I voted during the election. In that election, I voted. And I remember it was a Saturday when I went to vote. We had just finished producing the magazine, and because there was a movement restriction. So you have to make sure that you are not caught up in that restriction. So we all voted. It was an open voting. We queued behind the candidate we all wanted, and the result was declared therein. There was no counting of ballot, just counted us as we raised our hands. And as a journalist and a newspaperman, I remember that our magazine actually published the results as declared in I think 19 states or 24 states. And the result clearly showed that Abiola won that election. So all these nonsense people were saying that Abiola was the assumed winner of the election. It was just near Badadash. There was a winner as declared in all the state electoral commissions at that time. And so we, of course, with the support of the civil society, the politicians, we found ourselves in the struggle. I keep telling people that if the civil society people are kept quiet, or the politicians are kept quiet, there will have been nothing for us as journalists to report. We could not just manufacture stories. So we were feeding on each other. We had a society that was outraged, civil society organizations were outraged, and a number of politicians too were very, very outraged by the annulment. The annulment did not happen the same day after it happened about 10 days after that election, I think on the 23rd of June. And most people were just shocked that the election could be annulled. People saw that it was, said, an open election, and there was no secret ballot. Everybody saw it, and it was recorded as such, and people could not just understand why the military government at that time annulled that election.
Now, apart from the fact that Nigeria was under the military at that time, what were some of the key issues that, Abiola was able to get Nigerians on a united front on? Because, as you said, it was free. Everybody saw, the outcome of the election. It was peaceful. How was he able, as a political candidate, to galvanize, voters across the nation, despite, ethnicity difference and different religious backgrounds? People were united. What were the key issues, and how was he able to?
Let me say, you need to understand the person called MKO. At the start of his political career in 1979, he joined the conservative NPN, National People's Party or something, National Party of Nigeria. And after some few years, when he found that he could not, he wanted the presidency at that time, in 1979. And then he was planning to run in 1983, when he was shut out by the big power players in the MPN, Abiola resigned from partisan politics. And then he started doing what people knew him knew him for, philanthropy and all kinds of things. And he was all over the country, and he even became more famous doing all those things. He would donate to churches, to mosques, to social organizations, and so on. So it became a national name. Everybody knew who Abiola was. And of course, he had a publishing enterprise behind him, the Concord Group of Newspapers. So it was already known. And when he launched his campaign for the 1993 election, he raised a lot of hope. He actually called the campaign Hope 93. And the program, even I was not really convinced about his candidacy. I worked with him then, and I led his organization, and I was very skeptical about his candidacy. But I think I was convinced the day he and Dawakin Tofa, the NS candidate, clashed on TV, a national debate. And I was really moved by the promises Abiola made in that debate. Abiola stammers a bit, but he really outperformed Tofa, is the rival candidate. It was on that night I said, look, this man actually meant to change things in Nigeria, and that the Hope 93 campaign was talking about was not actually an empty campaign. He really had some program. But that night I was convinced that I must vote for him. That's why I said on the day of voting I had to run to make sure I beat whatever curfew the military people were trying to impose, so that I voted, so that my vote would count. And it counted, of course, so everybody was happy. So he raised a lot of hopes. He was an accountant, and he was very much exposed to the world, and he had very high hopes about what he could do to really turn this country around.
Now, talking about the icon MQ Abiola, do you think that we have honored him enough, despite the fact that June 12th has been prescribed as the New Democracy Day? Do you think there is more that should be done, as some activists are still saying?
Well, democracy is not something that's easy. I think, let me say, what Buhari did in 1998, 2018, was to atone for the sins of 1993. By giving Abiola the GCFR, he was saying that he actually, because that title, that honor, is meant for people who have been presidents of Nigeria and leaders of Nigeria. So by upgrading MKO, by making him GCFR, really atone for what happened, he actually proclaimed him as president. That's what he did. And I will tell you, as a democracy is not an easy thing. It doesn't offer all the solutions to societal problems. But what I know is that it's far better than having the military in the saddle.
Now, let's talk about the dividends of democracy from 1999. Do you think that democracy has given a lot to Nigerians? Because when you look at the Sahelian part of the continent in Africa, we're seeing some African countries, even President Tinubu had to intervene in some cases. He did his best, some will say. Some of these nations, don't believe in democracy and are welcoming back military rule. From 1999 to this time, how do you think our democracy has fared?
Well, let me talk about our country first. If you check our development in 1999 and now, this country has moved further, as we have made progress. In 1999 we didn't have GSM. Today we have GSM. Look at even the roads. Look at even Abuja. Start from Abuja. The military moved the capital to Abuja in 1991. But look at what we have witnessed from 1990 to the transformation that we have seen in this capital city. Look at Lagos, what we have seen in Lagos. In fact, in many cities, the last time I was watching the television, I saw Governor Fintiri of Adamawa State launching a new road network with bridges and everything in the heart of Yola. That is progress. We never saw it before. You know, I said before, I'm not saying there are no challenges. We have many challenges, and that is the same thing with any society whatsoever. Today, people are saying, "Oh, there's a cost of living crisis," and so on and so forth. I told a BBC interview, I said, even in your country, there's a cost of living crisis. It's everywhere. It's global. It's not just a Nigerian affair. In America, there's a cost of living crisis. Everywhere. In Canada, there's a cost of living crisis. Everywhere things, the disruption happened some years ago, first of all with COVID-19, then Ukraine war came and it destabilized everywhere. Prices, nobody ever knew that even the wheat that we are eating in Nigeria came from Ukraine or Egypt, where the price of bread went up. So these are the kind of problems they face in the Sahelian countries. Look at them, they are landlocked, no resources, and they were just not able to meet the expectations of their people. And of course, the people heap the blame on the civilians. But what we have to know is that have the soldiers took over from them, either in Burkina Faso or Mali or Guinea or Niger, have they done better than the civilians? Burkina Faso now has more problems with insurgency than before the man was there, than before they removed the civilian leader. Ditto, either Niger or Mali. Look at Mali. They've not been able to solve the problem that said Keita was unable to solve. So they just come and tell you lies that they can do better. We've seen that they cannot do better.
Now, it's been 1 year since President Tinubu, came into power via democracy. The question is, you mentioned the economic hardship that's, is experienced all around the world. But the question is, what has he been able to do? Even the mining, we have a ministry, of mining being chaired by, Honorable Minister of Mining, that's Dele Alake. This falls under his jurisdiction, and with the democracy that has put him in power, what has he been able to do in this 1 year to address these challenges that he promised Nigerians that he was going to address?
Oh, the challenges have been addressed. Don't forget that when you are planning, especially economy planning, when you were in school, they told us economy is not a science; it's a social science. When you plan and you expect that human beings are going to behave in a certain way, you will find that by the time you roll out the plan, they can behave in another way. So it means you have to go back to the drawing board to say, okay, this is the unintended consequence that your policy or reform has brought, and then see how you can tweak it and then make sure that people really do what you want them to do. But it's not, I said, it's not science, it's just science. And this government, when it came in 2023, yeah, there were a lot of problems on the ground, a lot of problems. The previous government had already sold our oil. We call it future. Sold our mortgage oil to borrow money. And I will not blame that government. If you know what happened when the government came in 2015, it came at the time that oil price went down, so it had no other option than to try to borrow. And then you borrow, they ask for what are you going to pledge if you are borrowing. Okay, we give you oil. So they started pledging our oil. And that's why you find that when prices are going up globally, Nigeria is not getting benefit because the oil has already been sold ahead of the time. So that's why I'm not making. Even now, it's affecting us now because they have pledged the oil. Many barrels, millions of barrels every day. They pledged the oil, so we have collected the money, we have spent it. We already did a lot of things infrastructure-wise and so on. The money that we have collected from oil sales, that's what he used to really do all those things he did. So it's affecting the present government as well. And the present government is trying to make sure it block revenue leakages and raise the idea for the government, even for the central government, and it's succeeding at that. The 2023, there was about 10% increase in the what the federal revenue collected over what was collected in 2022. And even in the first quarter of this year, what government collected is far more than what government collected in the first quarter of the same time last year. So revenue is increasing, and that's why you see government having big dreams. They are dreaming about big projects. And that's why they can say, we want to do Lagos Calabar Coastal Superhighway. We want to do Sokoto Badagry Superhighway. We want to repair about 330 roads and bridges, because they find that there is money. They'll be able to raise some money from internally so that they can do a lot of projects. That's why you see them, they want to invest in agriculture. And so many things that government is trying to invest on so that people can have some kind of relief. But as I said, things are not so easy. You don't get the result overnight. But I can assure you that this government is fighting on all fronts to bring succor to our people.
I love the fact that you mentioned agriculture, because if our oil revenue is jeopardized, from your analysis, what has this administration done in 1 year to reposition, diversifying the economy so that apart from oil, we can generate revenue from other.
You see, the error we've been making in Nigeria is to focus mainly on the federal government. The federal government, as we do its own bit. Agriculture. This federal government does not have land. The land is owned by the states. They are the owners of the land. So but our people are not focusing on the states. What are they doing to boost agriculture in their...
The state governors, sorry sir, they attend FEC meetings with the president. So it's
they attend National Economic Council meeting with the vice president. I remember the president, I think last year, or even early this year or so, in January or something, called them to a meeting and told them to do a lot of things in their states. You see, why did we create the states? Was it not just to make sure that we move government nearer the people? Why did we create 774 local councils? It was to move government nearer to the people. But what are they just doing? They just fold their hands and say, oh, almighty federal government, you come and provide food for the man in a Gogolada, or the man in Yenugoa. What is the state government doing? What is its own primary responsibility, if not to provide for the people? If the states, the local council, that's why you can see in recent time, the Attorney General of the Federation went to court to challenge the states that they have no right to withhold the funds meant for the local councils. But the local councils at their own level can do a lot too. In Lagos, councils are building estates. In Lagos, councils, because they are able to get hand of their own revenue. They are building estates. They are doing roads. But in many parts of Nigeria, it's like what do you call it? I want to use a term. They've decapitated the local councils. They are not able to function. No money. Even in my town, in Ijebu, the council chairman will tell me that apart from being able to pay salaries, he's not able to do any other thing.
So, most of the governors were elected under the platform of the All Progressive Congress, which also falls within the...
How many of the states are... No, it's not just All Progressive Congress alone, but of PDP states. The same problem that everybody is facing.
Well, can't the APC set precedents for other states?
That is why the Attorney General went to court to challenge the government that, look, you cannot be holding the money meant for local councils. This is a problem that started from 1999, that you cannot be holding that money. You see, the Constitution recognizes only actually 2 tiers of government. 2 tiers. But when it comes to revenue allocation, there are 3 tiers. You read it, the states or the legislature of the state is supposed to make law to govern those councils. So the states subsume the council under their own influence, instead of allowing the council to really breathe, to allow them to operate on their own. So at any time, if any council chairman does something that's not okay, that the governor feels not okay, we just ask the House of Assembly to suspend the council chairman. Instead of having elections there, we suspend the man. So they've they've not allowed the councils to really operate the way they should operate. My own contention is that if you allow the council to operate and if the states function optimally, look, in the US, there was a time I met one person from in the state of Missouri, I think the middle belt of that country. And we were talking, I was saying I'm coming from Washington and everything. The next thing he asked me, say, where is Washington? I said, what do you mean? He said, he has never been there before. Their capital. All his life, he had always lived in Missouri. He went to school there, went to university, he started working there. He never left the place. And he was working there as an adult. Each state is the duty of the governors to make each state an economic unit. Not just the federal. They should forget. You see, the federal should be forgotten. If they make each state an economic unit, nobody will come to Abuja to be asking for dough every month. Oh, every fact. They don't need it. Sit down, think about how you can improve agriculture, add value to it. How was it done in the First Republic when the regions were able to do a lot of things on their own? But now it's like everybody's just sit down, federal government. This one, if somebody loses his wife in the state, you blame the man who's unfortunate to be the leader of Nigeria. You say it's the federal government. Yesterday I saw something online. Somebody said he went to the market to buy basmati rice and the price has gone up. And I said, why do you want to buy basmati rice? Why not buy local rice? Why do you have to eat basmati made from India? Imported from India? Why don't you buy local rice? Or something happened, they say the road is bad. Look at the road from Lokoja to Benin. It passes through Kogi State, Edo State. I think those two states. So a road that passes through your state, you cannot fix it. You are waiting for almighty federal government to do it. When you can do it, and then say, Mr. Federal Government, you have done your road, give us a refund. But they allow you to go to bad, and then they waiting, and then nobody will be able to pass and so on. To me, it shows that you are not. The citizens should begin to task their states, begin to ask questions from there. What are you doing with the money even that you have? What are you doing with the IGR? Where are you deploying it to? So that once we start doing that, we will never, the gains we think we are going to get from democracy, we will never get it. The federal government cannot fulfill all our aspirations. That is why the states are there to do part of the job, and the local council. 7 for local councils. 36 states, FCT, they need to wake up and do their own part of the budget. If we do it, this country will just find that in a few years, we will get our bearing right, everything will start developing.
So there's no how we will talk about democracy, not talk about elections. Like the last elections, it was, contested heavily. And of course, President Tinubu emerged victorious as the winner. But, for every elections, it seems to divide Nigerians. Like you said, during the 1993 elections, majority of Nigerians accepted the fate of the election. But from, 2007, we've seen a lot of issues with our elections that needs to be addressed. How do we get to that point whereby, after elections, no matter what side you're on, the elections are transparent enough for you to accept fate rather than going through series of, court cases from appeal to Supreme Court and all of that?
No. It depends on the spirit, the sportsmanship spirit of the politicians. Whatever seeming division that we see, they were all caused by politicians. Those are we call bad sportsmen. You go into an election, it's either you win or you lose. So if you lose, if you're a good sportsman, you just say, or you start working for the next election. In 2015, President Jonathan did not wait for the announcement of that election result. After his people collated the result from the states, he called President Buhari. He called him and said, congratulations. INEC had not announced the result. He already conceded to him. Because he had seen the result that he had won. It was the incumbent, and he didn't go to court. Because he found that there was no point in going to court. Buhari beat him. So it's coolly considered. Sometimes in our country, we don't have people like that. The last election, for instance, the man who caused all the division and everything was Peter Obi. He came in there with two major problems that could even destroy any country: religion, ethnicity. We never had such complaint before. People coming in, I'm a Christian, vote for me. In fact, a candidate gallivanting from one church to the other, all because he wanted to win the Christian votes, seeing himself as a Christian candidate, or a candidate trying to capitalize on his ethnicity. And you can see the result, how it happened. Whereas in the other past, Bola Tinubu is from the Yoruba from the West. Did he win the entire West? No. He won only 4 of the states of the West. So he lost Lagos to Peter Obi. He lost Osun to Atiku. Atiku is from the north. From Adamawa, yeah, he won his own Adamawa state, but he lost some other states to Bola Tinubu in the north. But in the southeast, who won the entire, with about 90% of the votes. That's why I'm saying ethnicity brought it in, and we are still seeing a hangover of that problem to today. People are still behaving as if the election, we are still doing election, or we are still doing campaigning. When you see the kind of things people write in the social media, and the kind of attack, the insults to give to the man who won the election. Someone that was saying the president did not win the election. After he had been sworn in, after INEC said this is the man who won the election.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned INEC, because from those from that political party, they fault, the fairness of the process in which the election, was organized. So it could be more of like, okay, their blame is on INEC. Some of the promises that they made.
They went to court. What did the court say? They didn't have any point. They said INEC did not announce the election result electronically. INEC said it was not bound by that, by what they were talking about, that we could choose to announce the result the way it liked. And they were lying, because INEC said it had some problems in delaying using electronic means, not even to announce. They are just putting on their website the results as they were getting it from the various polling stations. I think they delayed for some hours. Later they started uploading it. There was nothing to hide. If any kind of fees are grieved, the law is there. Go to court, challenge it. If you lose, forget about the election. But I said they are bad sportsmen, bad politicians, bad losers, and so on. And they took this thing all the way to the Supreme Court. They lost, and they see feel that maybe they have to appeal to God to allow them to win the election. The election has ended. A good politician will start planning for the next election, and come around, help the man who has been declared the winner. Because if all of us work together, we are not. Some of them are even wishing that Bola Tinubu will fail, but they are going to be waiting forever. The man will succeed. We expect them to join him, so they can have a better country, so that they can succeed in the next 3 years.
Now, some of the issues of technicalities in this last election, do you see the president addressing some of these challenges to improve, the transparency?
Which technicalities are you talking about?
Just the issue of the IRF portal.
No, the IRF is just, I said, the IRF is just about you hold an election in a polling booth, then the electoral officer there uploads the result into the portal of INEC. Unless you really sit down to start calculating yourself, it's useless.
The reason I say this is because the Peter Obi you mentioned was comparing the election to that of the just concluded election in South Africa, where the results was displayed for everybody to see in real time. So that's the kind of improvement that I'm looking
for. No, Awasu, don't forget, we had several elections on 25th of February 2023. National Assembly, Senate, House of Rep, and then the presidential. For anybody, I go to INEC portal. At a stage I could not, because number one, it will eat up all data credit, and I said, look, how many of this will I download? But you see, the system is this: when they declare results in a polling booth, from there they take it to the I think the local council or so, where they collate. The local council at the local council level, in fact, they even do no, they do ward. So if in a ward they have 20 polling booths, they go to the ward level. Every result in polling booth, they go there, they add up. From the ward, they go to local councils. From local council, they take it to the state. So if you have any problem at any of these levels, what you need to do is to get evidence that maybe somebody has played some pranks against you, they have rigged you out, and then you can, if you present your evidence. Don't forget, in 2000 and was it 2011 or so, that was how the ACN was able to retrieve some of the states which PDP claimed they won. Ekiti, Osun, Edo State, and I think Ondo State, which was won there by Labour. That was how they were able to retrieve it, because they have evidence. They were able to prove in court that they rigged them out of the election. So you expected, those people, if you look at the court case that Atiku and Obi filed, they lacked substance. They could not prove that they were rigged out of the election. They could not prove it. And that's why the Supreme Court threw out their cases. They could not prove it. What I'm saying is that once you do, you see, you go to an election, it's just like Mr. Donald Trump. Donald Trump goes in an election, he thinks he's going to win. If he doesn't win, you say, I've been rigged out. That's not a good mindset. Is that a Democrat does not have that kind of mindset. A Democrat goes there, he can win, he can lose. And if you lose, congratulate the winner and start preparing. Review your case, say, how did I lose? Maybe I'll do better the next time. And but not to sit down then wishing the winner bad luck, that things are going to unravel under him, the country will be granted to a halt or something. It doesn't make sense.
So is there hope for Nigeria's democracy?
I believe so. The democracy will only survive if us Nigerians, if you are determined to make it survive. It's not just leadership, because what is democracy? Government of the people, by the people, for the people. I mean, that's democracy. So the people themselves must know that democracy has finer qualities than any other alternative. We've seen military rule. We see how it degraded everything that we know as a country, destroyed our education, destroyed everything that we have. And we've seen how democracy has been trying in the last 25 years to restore this country to its glory. And military government can never give you that. It's only democracy that can give us all that, all the good things. You see, we are under difficult circumstances now. You can see what the government has been trying to do to improve things. All kinds of palliatives, interventions, student loan scheme, credit corporation to give loans to workers and so on. The way it is done in other civilized countries. Giving fertilizer to farmers. So many things that the government is trying to do to make sure that at least the hardship that we are experiencing. And as I said, it's not peculiar to us as a nation. It's all over. I keep telling people, in fact, today, this one I was watching an old video of a pastor who said, those people just sit down in Nigeria and say Nigeria is a bad country. They say Nigeria, Ivory Coast is better than Nigeria. Ghana is better than Nigeria. That they should go out. Go and live in those countries. It is then you will know whether those countries are better than us. And I remember President Buhari also saying, there was a time he said it, I think he came up from a West African trip and said that Nigerians should count themselves lucky. That is not saying they should thank him, that you count themselves lucky that they are living in Nigeria. The fuel, something we are talking about. Oh, fuel is 600 and something naira. How much are you selling it just across the border? It's more than double the price. That is why they're still smuggling out our fuel. That's why they're smuggling it. Some of the things we complain about, they are expensive. Check out. In Ghana, I think in Ghana some months ago, there was a demonstration about this high cost of living. In Ghana. And Nigerians just sit down here because they've not gone out. Some people asked me, they said, I see BBC some 2 days ago. I said Nigeria is facing high cost of living. I said, you too, you are facing it. So we are not immune from it. It's a general, it's a global problem. But what I know that this government has been trying on all fronts to make sure that things are improved.
I get you, sir. But there's some people that would argue that if the removal of fuel subsidy and some of the decisions of the president were well thought out, well thought through, that there would have been, proper plans to, mitigate against some of these measures. Do you think that decision still haunts the nation to date?
Maybe I will give it back to you and say, look, if you have a leg that's already decaying, what do? You cut it off. Your leg, the leg, you have serious, maybe it's cancer or something, the leg is decaying. You don't keep it, you cut it off. When Tinubu decided to cut it off, that subsidy, so because there was no option. People should not forget. I think the problem of our country is that we forget too often. We don't remember things a lot. That's why people will have done something bad in the past, and then you see how people voting for them again. We don't remember. As a nation, a nation of very short memory. Before Tinubu came, there was already in this country fuel shortages. There were queues all over the country. If I remember the day that he was sworn in, there were queues in petrol stations in this Abuja. Because NNPC was the sole importer. NNPC was just importing, not making. NNPC, don't forget, it's a limited liability company, not making a dime from what it was importing. And it was being owed then by the Buhari government, according to the estimation, about 4 trillion of naira. That same government in 2023, in this budget, said it was going to spend 97% of our revenue on a debt service. 97%, not debt payment, debt service in 2023. That was the budget. So you have a budget of 100 naira and you're going to spend 97 naira to service debt. What is left? To take care of salaries of workers, to do roads and everything. You will not be able to do anything. So that was, if Buhari was still in power in 2023, he would have gone back to the market, start borrowing again, so that he can pay salaries, so he can maybe manage to do roads. That year, 2023, do you know how much money was voted for Ministry of Works to do roads? I think less than 1 trillion. So things were already very, very bad. So you needed to take an immediate action to put Nigeria back on track. And beside that, the president did not just do it. That was a consensus of all the major candidates, either Atiku or Peter Obi. All of them agreed the subsidy must go. And what did he actually say? He said on the platform, on the podium, he said there was no provision for subsidy in the budget. The provision the Buhari government had was to lapse end of June. He said subsidy, it follows that subsidy is gone.
I know you addressed Atiku's allegations that subsidy is back due to the report that was released by the federal government a few days ago. It's a conversation that I've even had with economics, because when they do the maths, they still feel that Nigerians should not be buying, the fuel at the current price that they are buying now. That would indicate and mean that government is still paying subsidy. Can you just make more sense out of that?
They need to prove that the government is paying subsidy. Government is not paying subsidy to NNPC, as far as I know. They'll be making the allegation, government is paying. Let them bring out their facts. But as far as I know, government is not paying subsidy to NNPC. NNPC is not asking government, give us the difference between the landing cost.
They're calling it secret payments. That's the word.
Secret? Let them go and get the voucher now. I'm going to tell you, as far as government policy is concerned, no subsidy is being paid to NNPC. NNPC is not saying it's not recovering the cost. As far as NNPC is concerned, it's breaking even. It's comfortable with what's going on. And as I said, the main thing is that as of today, government policy remains the same. No subsidy on fuel.
Then the issue of accountability on the part of government in terms of the money that have been saved as a result of the removal of subsidy. There are a lot of Nigerians who want to know because I recall in one of the broadcasts the president made last year, he said 1 trillion had been saved as a result of the removal of subsidy. And from that time till now, a lot of Nigerians will want to know how much has been saved.
What is 1 trillion? What's 1 trillion in today's economy?
It's a lot of money.
The answer to that is that since Tinubu came, how much money has been going to the states? Some of them are getting double of what you were getting before. So, you see, the Tinubu administration believes that money, even if you save money, is meant to be spent. So, the allocation to the states, every of them, either to the state or the councils, the allocations have increased. Since Tinubu came, since June or July 2023, every month over 1 trillion is being shared among the federal, states, and local councils. So the figures are there. The states are getting more money from the federal government, and some of them have come out to say the increased revenue they are getting from the center is really helping them to do a lot of projects. So that's the what Tinubu has done is that he has been able to try to stop the bleeding that we are having over fuel. And don't forget, even the subsidy when it was on, not 100% of Nigerians were enjoying it. Our neighbors, Nigerians would smuggle our fuel to a neighboring country, make big money. There was a time the NNPC MD went to the National Assembly to say that on every tanker that they were able to smuggle out, the profit those people make, those smugglers, is about 50 million naira per tanker. So the gains of it, you cannot just, you can't begin to quantify. The Tinubu administration has been able to stop some bleeding in that respect. Also in other areas, look at MDAs, those revenue generating ones. Government came up with the idea, look, we won't allow you to hold on to your 100% revenue. We are going to deduct 50% from source. So in the first quarter of this year, when the project came in January, first quarter, last quarter, 2023, only 125 billion was gotten from MDAs. Do you know how much money they recorded last quarter? January to February, 840 billion came into government coffers. So they are trying to understand the finances of the country, trying to mop up revenue. I said that's why you see government dreaming big. They want to do iconic projects that can further leapfrog our economy.
Now, the reason I say this is because for the common man, of course, those of us who are learned, we understand that subsidy had to go, but it was a political will to do that. But if the president is always saying, bear with me, I understand what you're going through. These are things that he has reiterated where anytime he has the opportunity to speak. But at the same time, the citizens want to see on their own part how government is able to, reduce cost of governance. Like, if you're saying, we should bear it, you look at those in the National Assembly and, mystery of the amount they earn and the allowances. That's what the common man is looking at. Like, we should bear this, but can you cut down governance on your own part so that we know that we are on this together? For most, common people that we interview in the country, that is what they want to see from government. And is the Bola Tinubu administration committed to fully pruning down the cost of governance?
No. The government has done some things symbolically by, for instance, cutting the number of people who go on tour, the entourage of government officials. And also of recent said we're going to implement the Ronson report by merging some ministries or not ministry agencies of government as recommended by Steve Oronso under Jonathan. So symbolically, they are doing a lot of things to reduce the governance costs. It's not something they can do overnight. Over time, and you see, people. That's why we need a vibrant civil society. Look at what I read something recently that they are going to set up a Southwest Development Commission. You see, to me, there's a Southwest need a Southwest Development Commission. They've done Niger Data Development Commission. They've done Northeast Development Commission. They've set up Northwest Development Commission. Now they are talking about they've even done Southeast Development Commission. They are talking about Southwest. Maybe the next one is to have North Central Development. It's all nonsense as I'm concerned. They are just building more bureaucracy. But it's not Bola Tinubu's problem, National Assembly. That's where that one's coming from. They are the people creating all those institutions for political reasons. For political reasons. So the civil society should be awake to its job to say, look, even labor, all these labor people, the labor unions, lead a protest, say, look, you cannot be creating additional government institutions because you are expanding the cost of governance. It's as simple as that. But they will be watching until the thing is done, and they now say, oh, you have to vote 500 billion to Northwest Commission, 500 billion, then the money, and then they use, of course, the bulk of the money not to even take care of developing those places, but mainly for administrative costs. So it's not Bola Tinubu. Like I said, this country, until all of us open our eyes and we are awake to our responsibility as citizens, things will not improve. The governors have to be held to account, the council chairmen have to be held to account, and just like the federal government should be held to account.
So you talked about labor, we'll get to that, but you mentioned the civil society. I think they're trying from my own assessment, because when you look at the issue of subsidizing Hajj, pilgrimage, a lot of Nigerians had issues about that. That, okay, if that can be subsidized, what about the hike in electricity tariff, which Nigerians and labor are demanding that it should be a reversal? These are some of the areas that Nigerians want compromise from government. Let's cut down on those kind of, Hajj is important, but that should be, some will say that should be between the person, and his capability to go on his own, and government should not be doing that. So in that area, that is within the purview, of the federal government and away from the National Assembly, which has its own peculiar issues.
The Hajj subsidy is a one-off. Don't forget that what is the reason for government? Government exists to cater for the citizens. That's what it exists to do. So if you find your citizens are going to the Hajj to perform what they consider something obligatory in Islam, the government also has a duty to help them so they can perform their religious obligations. Hajj is compulsory in Islam. So, as I said, it's a one-off. If tomorrow the Christians also say they are going to Jerusalem or going to Rome or something for pilgrimage, the same government will also see whether it can help them to reduce the cost of going there. I don't do any religion. If tomorrow we can come together and say you also want to go to somewhere, Brazil Orisha shrine or something, and say, yeah, you should support us as well. And I think the government will be forced to also support us.
Well, at this time of economic hardship,
these are all one-off expenses. It's not something they will do every month. It's one-off.
That's
you won't say now that you want to go to Umrah and that the government should bring money to come and sponsor you. That's not recognized because it's not compulsory. Umrah is not compulsory. What I'm saying, government has the duty to help the citizens at any time. So what government has done in respect of Hajj, which I believe it will replicate in respect of the Christian pilgrimage as well, is not something, it's not a crime. It's just doing what it believes we should do to help the citizens. Don't forget that in some parts of the country, religion is very important to them. You cannot, as a government, just ignore what really touches them. They may not be concerned about the issues we are talking about in Abuja, but they feel that they want to serve their God, and they think that government can also help them in the discharge of this religious duty.
Now, the issue of minimum wage negotiations, which is one of the promises the president made during one of his broadcasts, that he was going to find a balance, and that has lingered, up till now. And I think the last figure that federal government
it has not lingered. Government has stated its position. 62,000 naira. That's what government wants to do.
Well, Labour is asking for 497,000.
No, they are even
That's
come
a
down.
far cry.
They are saying 250k, but they will never get 250k. It to me does not make sense. Where would the 250k come from? 62,000 naira. The minimum wage is just a benchmark for that. If you divide it by maybe 24, 25, it will give an idea that if I'm a laborer and I go to work at your site, maybe you are building a house or something, you cannot pay me less than maybe 2.5 or 2.8 per day for working out maybe 8 hours a day. You have to, at the end I finish say, yeah, take. That is my minimum wage. That's the benchmark. You see, we are running a federal system. You cannot force all the state, and the governors have come out that they cannot pay even the 60,000. Now we talk about 62,000. I have some documents here about what each state, if you take all the money, even the increased money they are getting from center now, and the IGR, you combine the two together, and then you net their current budget, the current capital, they are in the red, including Lagos State, including Rivers State, Delta, but yet all of them, they are in the red. The only state that is not in the red, by the calculation the Nigerian Government Forum did, is Anambra. I don't know how they were able to do it.
But Edo is paying 70,000.
Is this sustainable? Election is coming. Obaseki, Godwin Obaseki is just doing it to win votes for his candidate. Election is coming. The key issue is sustainability. For about 6 months, the federal government was paying 35,000 naira to all federal workers. He said for 6 months. That 6 months has ended. Can he continue to pay it? Is it sustainable? He said no, it's for 6 months. And it has done that bit. So the labor is now calculating, we are already paying us 35 plus 30 plus 12 and so on. But 35 is just for a grace period. And it has ended. It has ended. So minimum wage, the labor should sit down and really do their arithmetic very well. I'm not sure the government of Nigeria signed a document or a contract with our workers that says that if I employ you, I'm also employing 4 children or 2 wives or something. It's you, only one person employed. So when labor now says, how can 60,000 naira take care of a family of 6? Government, when in fixing minimum wage, is not thinking about family of 6. It's thinking about the labor of one man.
But the money, I think what Labour is looking at is the trickle effect of how it will impact the economy in general, because if the money goes into that worker, it also helps other people who may be a burden to
the family. In a family of 6, is the wife not working? Are you not going to combine the income? If the wife is working, even if she's a petty trader, and every day she makes a profit of 3,000, 4,000 naira, will it not be part of the family income? They are not thinking about that. And then at times they will say, 60,000 naira is just about now, maybe $40 or something like that. They forget that our 60,000 naira, or the equivalent of $1 in Nigeria, let's even say at 1,500 $1. $1 in Nigeria can buy you at least 2 square meals a day. 2 square meals. 1,500. 1,500. Quality meal. Take beans. Take bread.
You can, no, goes
1,500. I know my driver buys food outside. 1,500 can give you can eat. Let's even say 1 square meal. 1 meal, 1,500. Can give you 1 meal. $1. You can't buy any food in America with $1. You cannot. So they don't look at the purchasing, what they call purchasing power parity or something of money. If I have 10 million naira now, I can build a house in Nigeria, 10 million naira. If you look at what it means in America, maybe about $8,000, whatever.
So food is one thing. There is accommodation. There is health, insurance too, which needs to be taken care of.
Health insurance. How many workers do health insurance?
Money to take care of themselves when they fall ill and other emergencies.
The minimum wage is the minimum. As a worker, in fact, the way what you find in many climes is that if you are working, if I ask our relations who go abroad to work, you find them doing 2-3 jobs a day because they are earning minimum wage, and they know that minimum wage can never sustain them, so they will take on other jobs. Many of our people here in this country, I'm sorry to say, many of our people are they don't want to do something extra to earn extra income. Minimum wage cannot take you anywhere, and it should not mean that if you're on level 1 today, you can't be stagnant. The challenge is for you to see how you can further your training, go for further education or something like that, so that you can go to level 4, level 8, level 12, and so on and so forth. It's not something that anybody should be happy about collecting. It's just a minimum. Think about advancing your education, and then if the civil service allows that, you find people coming in on the lowest rung of the ladder and then advancing. They go to school while they are still working for government, and as they bring in their certificate and so on and so forth, they move. So the minimum is the basement of wages. So
the big question is if Labour will be able to compromise on that figure. But I think because of time, in the occasion of Democracy Day, what's your words to Nigerians?
Well, I will implore our people that there's nothing better, no other form of government is better than democracy, and that it's our duty to ensure that we jealously preserve this democracy. Nothing better. If you are not happy with government at any particular time, democracy allows us at periodic elections to make alternative choices, elect new leaders, and so on. You cannot have such opportunity when you are under military rule. And democracy allows for freedom of choice, allows for liberty, allows for freedom of movement and everything. So let us, as citizens of Nigeria, ensure we preserve this democracy.
All right. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, for speaking with us on N250.
Thank you.